All right, what's good in the hood? In this video, I'm going to be doing some matchmaking for a hypothetical matchup. I'm going to give my 2 cents on Paddy the Baddy versus Max Holloway. If you enjoy this video, drop a like and give a comment below. Who do you think actually would win this matchup? Because I don't think it's very hypothetical. I think it's a very realistic matchup we see by year's end. But without further ado, let's jump into it. This one mainly is just, I think, to get the lightweight division moving. As you can see, Ilia Topuria, Justin Gaethje, they're booked up. That's the champ. That's the #1 contender, the interim contender. Arman Sharukian, he is in left field doing RAF, submission grappling, you name it, he does it. Fighting, kind of on the back burner. It's hard to say where he falls into that. I think I could see him fighting Charlie Alls, potentially as a rematch, kind of determine who has the next crack of the belt. But that covers, like I said, 1, 2, 3. The champ, obviously, Max, just coming off a loss. 2, Charlie Alls is still #4, so he's still hovering in top 5. Benoit Saint Denis is on a nice run right now, but I believe he was offered a fight on the White House against Rufy, and he's injured, or he's dealing with some sort of ailment. I'm not surprised. The guy goes and throws the kitchen sink in every fight. And then you have Paddy, #6. Paddy, I don't even know if maybe he went down a ranking. I don't even know, but he is still at that upper echelon with all these old lions. And everyone else is just, Dan Hooker, kind of washed. Well, not washed in the sense, with his Hooker behaviors. Gamrot, kind of a dud. Rufy's already got a fight booked up. Fiziev feels like he's going to featherweight at this point. Renamo Kono, I believe he has a fight booked himself. So yeah, I think even though rankings don't matter anymore, and they really haven't for a while, #4 versus #6, while everyone else is booked in the top 5, that's a very compelling matchup to put both these men who, let's be real, Max, I think he's still going to be chasing legacy in the sense of he wants that second belt. He wants to join that, I don't want to say elusive because it continues to grow as everyone pursues this elusive dream. He wants to join double champ status. Paddy, he's still, now he's looking for redemption, a redemption arc to get back to either potentially a money fight with Ilia, that old rivalry on, was it hand soap sanitizer? Or regardless, just, maybe get a rematch with Justin, whatever it may be. He took his first career loss in the UFC, and now he's coming back to prove the naysayers that he's not just a chin. But actually, that's why I think this fight's so fun to try to break down, because usually when you break down two fights, you're thinking about, like, what are their strengths? What do they bring to the table that makes them highly likely to win? And in this case, we're going off just the recent memory because they're both coming off losses. And the memories we think of Max are the fact that this guy had next to no defensive wrestling, next to no ability to stand back up. Jiu-jitsu game, hard to say. I'm not a jiu-jitsu expert, but hard to say how much jiu-jitsu he really had if he couldn't get out of these compromised positions. Sure, he survived, but he took damage. And he frankly killed the BMF belt because of that, because he couldn't get up. But on the flip side, Paddy the Baddy, he's a guy that coming out of his fight, we're starting to think, okay, he doesn't have power. He doesn't seem to have that much power, especially in his kicks, as Justin shat on him on those. And he seems to have a chin, but he seems to not have any IQ, and he just lets that chin get cracked on and on and on and on. To the point where we have this lovely headline. It might be a month old, but it will age very well, probably for the rest of Paddy's career. Joe Rogan, and he only says this a few times. He said this about, like, Yoel Romero. After Yoel Romero ate, like, head kicks, he's like, that specimen needs to be, like, studied by science when he dies or something, whatever. But yeah, he's saying his chin needs to be studied after he was hospitalized for taking, like, fucking 3,500 concussive shots from Justin, powerhouse himself. But the point I'm making is, like, this is, like, interesting because both these boys showed some very, very, very compelling holes in their game. And as I pull another article, Billy onto it, Max Holloway himself was awarded a BJJ black belt after his loss to Charles Oliveira. His coach cited, he cited his submission defense against a specialist like Oliveira as the reason to getting his new black belt, and after demonstrating incredible defense, which is partially true. I mean, he did survive, especially the first 2 rounds. There were some submission threats. He did exactly what he needed to do, especially while he was taking shots from Charles. But I mean, let's be real. He was held down for 20 minutes. does that really merit a black belt? And that's why it's bananas. Is you have Max, who we just found out, and maybe this is more of a testament to Charles and his abilities, but we just found out that Max, when he actually fights a guy that actually knows how to grapple and has some submission threat, he's next to useless. And then we also found out that Paddy, if he can't overwhelm you with his pace, his size, his unusually offensive striking capabilities, coupled with his grappling, then he's fucked too. If we're being frank, like the guy leaves his chin out there, and he really seems to have this very big ego of that he's a scrouser. Scousers don't get knocked out. And that's my impersonation, which is dog shit, but it's a dog shit, I think, mentality to have, that you're just gonna embrace this whole I'm young, I have a nice chin, and I'm gonna fight forward, which he did amazingly, but he probably took 2 to 3 years off his prime because of how much damage he took. But yeah, I think it's a very fun fight, and I'm just gonna go out of left field and say that the BMF belt was essentially killed off partially due to Max, but I would argue more is put the weight on Charles, because Charles was the one in control. He was the one dictating the pace, and he couldn't get the job done. He did a good job for the first 2 rounds, and then he gave up pretty much the last 15 minutes and just kept dominant position, but didn't do anything with it. If the BMF belt's a novelty belt, and if you think about it, when Jorge won it the first time, he never defended. It just disappeared, and he went fight for the undisputed belt. If Charles is going back to fight the undisputed belt, which is very realistic by the end of the year, he should vacate that thing. And depending on how the timeline plays out with Ilya and all these matchups, this would be a way to salvage the BMF belt's legacy. I mean, who knows if maybe Paddy actually comes in really improved and does exactly what Charles did to Max, and it's another partial snooze fest. But I'll give Paddy his 2 cents. I was never super high on him, and I think he's kind of cringy. And I'll be frank, I hate the fact that he likes to embrace being a fat fuck after every fight camp he goes through, and I think that's dumb as shit. But he seems to do it very well, and even with the vaping and all that, was it right before his fight, he's vaping in the locker room. Regardless of that, he puts on entertaining fights, not just because he's an entertaining fighter, but also because he's an entertaining fighter because he gets cracked a lot. But yeah, I think him and Max would be a very, very fun fight. And if we're looking at the positives of both of them, Max is going to be cracking his chin a shit ton with his boxing ability, the jab and all that, combos nonstop. But I think Paddy, as we saw against his fight with Justin, he is fearless and he will march forward. And I think unlike what he did with Justin, he's going to actually try to, because Max is clearly below Justin on takedown defense and all that. Probably above him on jiu-jitsu, because Justin does not have jiu-jitsu, but definitely is going to push the takedown threats on Max. And I just have this expectation that I'm not going to make an official prediction because this fight's not out yet, but I'm going to go on limit, say that it's going to go a couple rounds at the bare minimum, and Max is going to get taken down, but he's going to have a good survivability and not immediately just get swamped. And Paddy's going to get probably beat up, and now he's probably developed a shit ton of scar tissue thanks to Justin. And I expect blood. I expect some, knockdowns. It's going to be a very fun fight. And if the BMF belt is no longer in service, because I just don't think you can have the belt if you're fighting for undisputed gold. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Although I think Max said against Ilya, so that was kind of weird. Yeah, give these two boys the belt and let that legacy build, try to resalvage itself, especially if I don't think either of them would get a title shot after beating each other. Even though you can get a title shot after one loss, I just don't think that's possible. And it's perfect because it sets up their next fight, maybe against Benoit Saint Denis. He is someone that should be fighting for the BMF belt. He is, and I've said this before, he's the second coming of Justin Gaethje. You need to, if you're gonna keep this novelty belt, then just pull it. And I'm sorry, Charles dropped the ball and he shouldn't be holding it right now. Hate me in the comments if you do. I still like Charlie Alves as a man, as a person, his backstory. I got the whole breakdown from his fans, aka my Irish friends, was it 2 weeks ago? But yeah, that's my 2 cents. What do you think? Let me know. Do you think this fight makes any sense, or do you think they should go a different path? Especially, I think more so for Paddy, because Paddy is still the future business-wise, whereas Max feels like, I don't know if he could actually reasonably get to the belt and win it, but it still would be a good story for him, and he still seems to be pretty, despite probably absorbing some of the most strikes, I think statistically, he still seems to be sharp as a tack. Besides his lack of wrestling ability. But yeah, let me know. And then if you get any enjoyment out of my rant, give me a sub, and I'll see you for the next one.